I have a terrible migraine. And I just wrote it. And I wrote how I would have written it. And it started responding differently. Okay, let's take it slow. And what are the things you need to do today? And it really surprised me because I'd only just barked orders at it. And just, here, do the spreadsheet, do this, do that.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, NaRon Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory, walk.
Warning! This is a public service announcement. The Walk in Victory podcast is where we have conversations purposed to evolve lives. You may not want to evolve. Then tune into another bleeping podcast. Everyone else, enjoy the show. And here's our host.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from, but it's your boy, your host, NaRon Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory walks, I want to go back into my time when as a musician. One of my first businesses, one of the first things that I did, and I call it a business because I was an independent contractor for an Artist Alliance, and I got paid to teach youth and young adults how to write music. And we had to break the class up into small components, and each class that we taught, we broke them up into groups and small groups and teams. So it was not just the artistry, but in the team they had to have an accountant, a lawyer, somebody to work with them. We gave everybody a budget, and they had to really come together and collaborate and unify about how they want to work the budget, while the artists worked with songwriting and all of these things. And we had all of these components mapped out. And one of the things, and at the end of the semesters, we would do all of the best performers would come together and perform in front of the whole school. And it was a beautiful thing. It was great. I've been teaching since I was a teenager. So, but my takeaway, and the reason why I'm leading in with this, is that at that time, we didn't have the tools available that we have now. So it was a little bit more difficult for us to, in terms of bringing the beats. We had CDs, right? And sometimes the CDs would scratch, and it was like, I'm thinking back then, and I was in my 20s, so it was about 20 years ago, and where we are today in terms of music and the marketing and that story that I told you, how we could have captured that story and even presented it. And it was written in the local newspaper, but presented it to the world and been had a greater impact, and maybe even struck up some people to be innovative about using music. So they're taking music and all of these things out of schools, which is really unfortunate. And we're living in an age now where where people are so heavily reliant on the AI tools that we're no longer breeding musicians. And I think that we're going to get back to the place where live music is going to be alive, go back to that big band feel. But that's neither here nor there. The tools that we have accessible to us now would make those jobs, the thing that I was doing, a lot easier, because we could have done some things virtual with the kids, and the learning could have been continual, and it didn't have to stop after the 40 minutes. If they wanted to continue to work on music, we could have done so much more, because all of those things are now accessible to us. In one instance, we look at AI and we look at it from a lens where we're saying, okay, it's growing a detachment from human contact. The agent is now doing a lot of work for us. But on the other hand, we can look at it and say it's helping us speed up innovation. And we still have the necessity for human contact. I saw a news article, and then now you don't know what's real or what's fake, but a young man proposed to his AI robot and started crying because he said yes. And I'm like, this gotta be It's got to be AI generated. So you're going to have the thing about innovation is that you're going to have to take the good with the bad. You're going to have a lot of bad actors. You're going to have a lot of things happen that we can't explain. We're going to have to sit down with our children and put parameters up. You're going to have people that take technology and use it to create evil things. That's just what it is. I can say, and this is what I've been arguing to people, especially in religious context, when they were saying, oh, social media is horrible. I'm like, well, social media is going to show you who you are because it's only going to present you things that you search. So if your social media feeds are horrible, then you might be searching some horrible things. Lynn, how are you?
I'm good. That was a power-packed presentation right there.
Well, we're going to be diving deep into what it is that you do, and I love to lead in, and I'm one of those guys who did a lot in my 50 years around. So every time I have a guest on, some people are like, I don't think I'm a fit for your podcast. I said, well, you probably listened to an episode where I was talking about simple marketing, or an episode when I was talking about simple mindfulness. But if you chew on it a little bit, you realize that I'm an eclectic.
That's awesome. We will have fun then.
Yeah, so tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
So my name is Lynn Colepaugh. I work with my company is Cyber PR Army Solutions, and I think very much like you, eclectic background. So my background went to university, to computer information, then went immediately met my husband and said, we should join a band. And he said, no. So it took me a year to convince him. And then after that, we released 15 albums. We toured all over Canada and the US. We did really well. And then he had a gallbladder attack. And we were both knocked out of work because it was like, we can't tour without him and he can't tour without me. So we said, we got to change. We need to adapt. He went into sessions, live sessions and recording, and I went more into the computers and supporting artists in their marketing. And from there, what I did just started to blossom with artists primarily and the arts industry and the nonprofits. And then a friend approached me and said, would you speak at our luncheon for solopreneurs? They were craftsmen and local plumbing, electricians. And I was like, I can, but I specialize in the arts. And it was one of those kind of slap in the face. When I did the presentation, it was like, everyone has the same problems. They all have this, whether it's marketing in the music industry or you're marketing shoes or marketing a restaurant, it's all about visibility and getting your message out. And from there, I just started pivoting more in the non-arts area, but my heart always lives there. And I loved your intro. There's so many things. I was like counting on my fingers. I was like, I got to remember all these things I want to say because it's so cool. First of all, I love that apprenticeship kind of mentorship program you were talking about. To me, I really think schools should get back into that because like this, my daughter, she's 13, she's in school and she talks about the classes she zones out and the classes she's all in on. And I'm like, if our school system in Canada, and I think school systems all over, had that apprenticeship mentorship where they could like you could be someone who appreciated music and were really good with numbers and be that accountant you talked about in the group. And I just thought that was really cool. And the other part that I can remember, because I can only remember two of my fingers right now, was talking about AI and with regards to creativity. And I look at it as, if you're using AI to be creative, no. If you're using AI to help channel your creativity, put your, I don't want to say your spin on it, but to figure out how to get it out, then that's where that becomes interesting because a lot of people are shy, or if they're like a dancer, they're not necessarily good at expressing themselves on social media on how they dance and their inspiration. They're expressing themselves through their body. So if AI can help them with that, then to me, that's where AI will shine in the creative industry, the support system, or even adding, like you said, some of those roles that an artist who's working in their own kind of little bubble can use AI to support with making social media captions or writing a grant proposal. That's supporting the arts. But if they're like, hey, write me some really great lyrics, no way.
Yeah, it's funny and I like that approach, and I like what you said concerning how to use, and a lot of times we just talk about what it can do,
Yeah.
and that we miss the fact that the how to is there, and the foundational part. Like I've I've spent the last I've been able to do this in the last 2 weeks. I spent the last 2 weeks rebranding the podcast. I'm adding my face, or I've done it as of today. Like
Fair enough.
before, it was like I was like hiding behind a brand, and I wanted to just be the voice behind the brand. I didn't want to be face forward, fronting. I did that in the beginning, and so I'm always going back and forth with that, and that's the whole marketing thing. And right now, I think that because there's such a void in leadership in a lot of areas, that is, if you are listening, it's good to be face forward, because you can fill leadership voids in your industry. That being said, I was able to get everything done in a timely manner because I have this AI agent, this assistant that I prompted properly, and it understands where I'm going, and it understands the nuances, and I can take it to a deeper level, and I can bring it back to the surface. I can remind it of prior things that, no, we said we wanted to do it this way. It's almost like having it's almost like working for Diddy, because I have my AI agent working 20 hours a day.
Nice.
But I don't have to get in trouble for overworking it, because they're there. I wake up
There you go.
I wake up in the middle of the night. I have an idea. I roll over, and they're there, and they help me get my ideas out. Yes. So how has that been for you, coming from an artist side, already doing the marketing stuff, and now having these tools at your fingertips? Do you take that approach where you have these long drawn projects, and find yourself being able to just overturn them even more?
You know what? It's funny you talked about like the rebranding and the face forward. It's for years because the group I was in with my husband, it was named after him. So I was the bass player. So just off to the side, chilling, just keeping things happening. Not really the center stage, but there. And then when I got into marketing more heavily and was just doing less in the arts industry, I started the company Cyber PR, and I was like, this is going to lead. I will just be the quiet little
Bass
engine that's
player.
pushing it. Yeah, exactly. The bass player. That's right. But I was the owner. I can't be the bass player and not the lead singer. And that's really what hit me in January of this year, because I had my ChatGPT count for the year before. And I showed up one day and I was like, I have a terrible migraine. And I just wrote it. And I wrote how I would have written it. And it started responding differently. Okay, let's take it slow. And what are the things you need to do today? And it really surprised me because I'd only just barked orders at it and just, here, do the spreadsheet, do this, do that. And then I started showing up more authentically using real language. If I would say, I don't know, I would literally
Mhm,
write that
mhm.
out. And I was seeing that response and that come back. So as part of you talking about face forward, that's funny because I went on that journey as well. And I was so surprised by the change. First of all, I was not confident doing it. Again, being the bass player and not really wanting to be out there. But I started talking about things I love, like I love anime and I love a Japanese food and I'm a goofball, all these different things. And people started showing up in my space that loved it too. And I was like, I thought I'd be pushing people away, but I wasn't. I was bringing the people that were my people closer to me. And then I thought, I'm going to start talking about AI, but I got to tell you, I was so scared to talk about AI. Being in the music and creative industry, I'm like, all my friends are going to hate me. They really are. I love AI, but I put it out there. Nobody said anything. And people started saying, I like it too. Like I named mine and I am having so much fun. And all these pieces started coming together. And when you think about an artist putting themselves out there, most of the artists that I've worked with, so I've been in bands and I've been an artist manager and I've been an agent and I've helped with funding and I've been on nonprofit boards. So the majority of artists have some kind of anxiety or they're personal or thoughtful. One artist I work with, he had PTSD, and social media is just, it's truly traumatizing. And writing grant proposals or a picture of themselves out there, it can stop them in their boots. And tools like AI, just as a gentle support system, because it can slow down, it can speed up. Like you talked about getting that rebranding out in a 2 week, 20 years ago, a rebranding would be like, we'll be done at Christmas time kind of thing. But now it happens so quickly. So musicians actually have more support available, but it has a little bit of a stigma to it because it is AI. But I think once they understand that this can be, I don't want to say emotional support, but it's like that. It's you're doing good. You're awesome. Your music's awesome. Get it out there. Be who you are. And here are some options for social media. And make sure you apply for that grant proposal and apply for that chance to perform because it doesn't judge. It's just, I'm just here to help. There is no tone, there's no nothing. It can be a support system.
Well, I'm glad that you said that. And this thought popped in my head, and we're going to just go back and forward on this. So back in the days when you were an artist, you were really looking to get with a company because they would give you all of the support, the marketing support, the finding you a thing, and they turn on the machine, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they're going to charge you for it. You don't know that part, but they charge you way more.
Yeah.
But now you can turn on a machine without having them in your pocket. So if an artist is looking at using AI, they can see themselves like, all right, this part is my marketing directives, right? They're going to help me come up with ideas to how do you explain that to an independent, an indie artist who's saying, well, I just want to get heard by this record company so I can get the machine turned on. Like a lot of that is changing now.
That's a really tough one because the artists I've met in my career have fallen into two categories. And there are those that are pure 100% artists. That is who they are. They are not going to do the documents, they're not going to do the grants, they're not, and they need a support system. And then there's the hybrids that they are all artists, but they're also, yeah, I can handle a spreadsheet, I can do a grant proposal. And I've always been on the fence because the 100% pure artists, if they're not inclined to do that stuff, then I'm always like,
Yeah.
but you're going to owe your soul to the record label. It's to do or not to do. I don't know. That's a tough
That's
one.
a tough one. And especially, but right now we have like it's easy to get music. It's easier to get music out. It's harder to be heard
Yes.
because there's
Yeah.
so much competition. There's so many people clamoring for those ears that if you don't use social media or if you don't use AI or any of the tools that you have, you almost kind of need you or a machine. And now I've heard you mention grants. Let's dive into that a little bit. How does that look for a musician? Where there, my daughter's right now. She's in Howard University. She's a guitar player too. She plays a little bit of bass, piano, and her first instrument was acoustic, and she plays electric. So she plays like, and now she's this past semester she took drums. She's a music major, sound therapy. So if you're talking to someone like that, and you're saying grant, and they're like, sometimes people want to ask, so what kind of grants are available for musicians?
Ah, so this is where it varies because in Canada it's a little bit different.
Hmm.
So there are grants in Canada for recording, for marketing, for touring, and for writing. Those would be the main ones. And they can be at the federal level, they can be like within the community, they can be within arts organizations. And really, you just start out by you can start with an AI, ask it. You can just go into Google and ask it for grants for writing in a state or a city or a municipality. And kind of where the next step is, yes, we have the AI tools to put together a grant proposal. So, what will you do with this money? And how will it benefit your life? And the standard questions are going to ask. But now you're competing with every single other artist that has an AI chatbot. So imagine being on the flip side and looking at 200 applicants that kind of all sound the same. You're going to just start rolling your eyes. And the ones that are going to stand out are the ones that are going to have that personal touch. Now, you can still do that with AI. Like you were talking about, you were giving AI all the pieces of you to help build that rebrand. And I do the same thing so that when I write proposals, I know everything I can about the company and everything that the AI can about me and my future goals, every little bit of information, I put it in there. So I think if artists are applying, it's not just enough to be like, I want to apply for this grant. This is my music. It's what do you write up a really draft, messy, just a thought dump of everything, and then give it to the AI to nudge and put together properly with the concept, even the link to the grant itself, because the grant will have objectives within the community that it needs to fulfill. And adding all those pieces in will give it enough information to go, I know exactly how to position this and to position you specifically versus anybody else. You don't want a grant answer to be an answer for me or an answer for you. It has to be that applicant specific. So I think that's where AI is a support, but it can also lead you a bit astray if you're not being specific enough.
Yeah, and I'm working on a prompting guide that'll be out for really soon, because it's going along with a prompting journal that's going to be out really soon too. So,
Nice.
because I'm building my own agent, and we're doing support for men that's coming home from incarceration. And I'm building an
That's really
agent that speaks specifically to them and their needs, but we're also doing workplace. So I have several agents coming out, and one of it, because I'm a mindfulness coach, and I'm looking at the prompting. That's what you're talking about. The prompting has to be detailed, but the first prompt needs to be long, right? And it needs to tell the whole story. Don't worry about, I think I'm talking too much. No, just give it everything, because you're training whatever platform you're using. It doesn't matter. Oh, this new platform doesn't matter. The new platform or the upgraded platform with us. If you don't have the system down and understand that beginning, that prompting, then you're not going to get the best out of it. You're just going to get generic stuff. And then the follow-ups are shorter, because now we're critiquing and we're playing tennis now, and we're doing golf swings, and now we're playing tennis, table tennis at that, real fast, like two Asian persons in the Olympics. Right? Just how can you play
Yeah.
tennis that quick? And that's what begins to happen. But prompting is important, because it's going to give you something to work with. And usually what you start out with is and then the more you type, it begins to understand your cadence, and it uses the words that you would personally use, as opposed to repeating the words generically that they like to use. I'll be in the middle of a chat, And like say we're doing some artwork, cover art, stuff like that, and it's not coming out right. And I was like, do you need me to come back 5 minutes later? Did you get your coffee today? And they start laughing, and they'll even respond, LOL. No, I'm here for you. I'm sorry. I realize I messed that one up. You know what I mean? And but we have this real working banter. Whereas before, I was looking at it, I was using it like I'm searching for Google on Google. And I'm like, I'm not getting the same results. So that ain't gonna work for me. You know? But now I'm looking at it as if I have a collaborative partner. How was that shift for you? And I tell it, I need you to be a collaborative partner with me in this specific area. I have some specific detailed needs that we need to iron out, and I really want us to think think these things long and give me don't give me generic, but even challenge me. Don't tell me something that don't give me something if you think that that's not the right direction. I need you to be challenging and creative. Right? Because now it's going to open up my creativity. It's going to open up my conversation. How was that for you now as a leading voice in AI, especially?
So you touched on so many interesting things. It's You were talking about using natural language when you were talking to your AI, and which I love. And part of it too is the AI uses the words, or not, that's not right, but analyzes the words you choose to get your frame of mind and what you really like and maybe you don't really like, but you're just mentioning it because your mom said you probably should put it in and it's important. It can get that context. So using that natural language helps it understand more. And you were talking about how AI can sound like you. We had here at the house, we had the voice part enabled. And I was trying to show it to my husband and I'm like, yeah, we're trying to fix a doorknob and the doorknob is ancient and we just can't figure it out. And he was talking to it, and when we finished, it sounds exactly like you. Like I would think this was like your brother or something because it talks like you. It's so weird. And I'm like, it should. We've been talking together for a while. So looking at all of that and all those pieces of how words and prompts come together, what I use a lot is I try to keep threads. So I call them threads, but just I have the pro account. So I have the projects, and under the projects would be clients. And under each client is something I'm doing specifically. So let's say it's answering emails with a client. So there's one client I have. He's a business owner around town. He's very well respected, but he's a little bit anti-tech. And in order to talk to him properly and not just info dump or jargon dump on him, I run it through the AI, and the AI has his profile so that when I email him his reports, it's very friendly. It's in a way that he understands, and he knows I'm not trying to say that he doesn't know what we're talking about or be too low and dumb it down. On the other end of it, which this part's funny, I've been writing emails since email was invented, so enough emails I've sent in my life. And once I put the email in, and my prompt was, can you just fix this up? And because my AI is sassy as well, it said, okay, yeah, let's make sure this isn't coming from your cold villain lair. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? Do I come across that way? And it went through, and I'm like, just tell me the truth. Yeah, you get really clinical and you take all the fluff and the niceness away when you email. And you're just kind of, this is that, and that is that. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this again since email was invented. So now we have a thing where I say, can you de-villainify my email? Or on a scale from 1 to 10, how villainous is this email? And let's just say I'm not getting any better because Monday I had a 9.2 out of 10.
where the fact that the robot says 0.2.
That I'm using the AI to sound more human. Like really, he should be writing the quality that I'm writing, and I should be writing his. But just for some reason, I get really cold and clinical. And just little things like that, little changes. First of all, I laugh every day I'm on the AI because it's silly like me and I enjoy it. Secondly, I'm able to pivot so quickly and send these emails out or to do proposals that speak exactly for my company or myself because it has enough of history. So I put in you know how in projects you can upload up to 20 documents? I put like a personality profile of myself and a text document on my company and what we do and what our goals are, so that if I'm writing a proposal, I'll say, and refer to the project files to fill in the extra information about who I am, what I'm going to bring to the table, and our goals. So it's able to really thicken it up and make my answer more unique to me than all the generic AI answers. And that's a big pivot for what I've been able to do.
So where are you now in terms of, because now this is like still tapping into your creative energy, because as a musician we have to figure out a way to get our creativity out, and being able to is increasing workflow. But where are you now as in terms of your vision of podcasting, and what is the core message that you're getting out to the world?
I guess I could say my core message is the you that is you deserves to be heard. Your voice deserves to be heard. Don't be afraid of yourself. And that's where AI allowed me to lean into all the things I thought were too weird and just to be me in social media and to be me with the AI and to talk about the goofy things that I do with the AI. And all of a sudden my tribe, my peers started coming around going, I love this, tell me more. So as a musician, many musicians will feel isolated or alone, or they're just so bursting and on fire with ideas that they can't get them all out. And to me, that's where AI can support them with, if these are your 20 ideas, these are the 2 you work on this month. Don't think about the others, and can take the pace down and prioritize, as well as helping to be like, if you are a musician and you love cooking, talk about the things you love about cooking and the foods you love to eat and be uniquely you. And then there's that increased self-confidence, and then that, oh, I know who I am. It's like the musician's not just being a clone of another artist. They start becoming who they are, the you that is you.
And that goes back to the front facing, right? Just
Yeah.
not being afraid to share your quirks, or to share that you have a bad time, or to share that your feelings and your emotions at times, but not to be too pouty, because who likes to be around pouty people?
Yeah.
This has been fun. I haven't asked my last guest this question, and I don't know what made me get away from it, but I'll get back to it with you. What books have inspired you in your, it can be fiction, nonfiction, in your career in history?
Oh gosh. Right now I'm reading Alan Watts' Become What You Are. And I'm just like, in I'm a huge Douglas Adams fan, which is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And so listening to what's going on, so I'm listening to the podcast, Alan Watts, I'm like, there's got to be some relationship between them, because they talk about the absurdity of life and the existence. And Alan Watts is talking, his thing is become what you are. And I've even pivoted a little bit to say begin where you are. And a lot of that is so instrumental in just overcoming hurdles in your life, realizing things are big and things are small, and we're non-existent and everything, just to sum it up quickly. But to go, this is it. This is our turn around the universe and do it. You know what I mean? Eat the ice cream, go for the walk, try for that pie in the sky goal, even though it might fail, that's okay. And so that's the metaphysical stuff, but for me, I love Stephen King. I love Stephen. I love the way he writes. It's so natural. It just flows. And I have read The Stand. I like at least a dozen times. And it's like a ridiculous book, but I love that book. And I think I heard they're redoing it again. This will be like the third or fourth time they redo The Stand. But I'm still excited. I'll watch it again.
Listen, there you have it, everybody. I told you we have a conversation to help you evolve your life. I want to just make this really quick announcement. This summer, after Independence Day in America, July 4th, we're launching a challenge. You'll be hearing more on the episodes. I may do a specific episode, but this is for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs who don't understand funnel building. We partnered with a platform that we're going to help you in a 3-day challenge, and everything is going to be for you. 3-day challenge where we help you not just understand funnel, but give you the guidance and the tools and the platform to build your funnel. And you walk away after the 3 days with a funnel that is ready to use. And funnels, as you will find out, helps to increase specifically your email marketing list, your reach, social reach, in order to put some money in your pocket because we are all in business to put money in our pocket. And then we're going to have a 3-day, I think this is the email marketing challenge campaign, maybe 5 days, because the email marketing is a little bit more extensive. The funnel building and the email marketing is kind of going hand in hand. So if you do the 3-day funnel course, and it may be 5 days because it may do an introductory and all that stuff. But if you take that course, then you would probably want to jump into the email marketing course so that you can have a real big, robust plan. Our job is to give you value. And of course, in exchange, if you're in taking this thing, I'll get your email list and you'll be a part of our email list, right? That's how that thing works. And yes, there will be opportunity for you to go further than a challenge. And there'll be some opportunity to purchase some things and to help you out to continue your building in your career. And we're going to be doing that after the holiday. So that's our big announcement, and we're excited about getting all of this to you and getting this together. When we started the Walk in Victory, and I'll end here, I really didn't start. They tell you to start with usually to support the business. The podcast is on the top of the funnel supporting the business. I didn't start that way. We started the podcast not even really knowing what we were going to be discussing, and it evolved to this. And because the podcast kind of stood alone and it evolved to this, and victory meant something totally different now than it did when we started to me. Now I can see where I can build out and do things to help support the community that listens. We're 20,000 downloads away from 200,000. I believe that's 200,000. Yes. For this particular show, we have 3 podcasts all together. So we want you to continue to share our story with other people. We don't ask you for Cash Apps. We don't ask you for Venmos. We don't ask you to support my family. We don't do any of those things. But what we do ask is that you hit like and that you hit subscribe. The likes, the subscriptions, and the shares helps us to reach the people that needs to hear the message. We're going to do a better job at making sure that we are consistent with the shows. We do shows 5 to 6 days a week. We're going to increase our visibility on social media, and we're going to continue to be consistent. Newsletters are going to be coming out more consistent. That's why I had to take a break so I can put everything together in a way that will not impede progress, because we don't walk making excuses. We walk in victory. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.